Now, how did Satan himself originate? And I say to you that this is not God's world, this is Satan's world. How did it become Satan's world? How did Satan himself originate? Did God create a devil? Well, let me see, it's 1 Peter, the 4th chapter, I believe, no, 1 Peter 3 and verse 4. I may be mistaken on that. I didn't jot it down. I didn't intend to take time to read it. It speaks about the angels that sinned prior to the time of Adam. And they're reserved to their time of judgment. Then it talks about the time between Adam and Noah, and then culminating in the flood as a result of the sins of men on the earth. And then after that, the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah and the destruction of those cities as a result of sin. But how then did this Satan originate? I want you to notice it back now in Isaiah, the 14th chapter of Isaiah. I think many of you have read this many times. I want to go back over it and read it once again. Isaiah, the 14th chapter, beginning with verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Now, the word Lucifer means shining star of the dawn, or one who brings light, a light bringer. Lucifer was a shining, brilliant super cherub, an archangel, much more powerful than ordinary angels. There are three classes of angels mentioned in the Bible: ordinary angels, and seraphs, and cherubs. And Lucifer was a cherub. Only three are mentioned in the Bible. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. So he must have been under heaven. I will exalt my throne. Oh, he had a throne. Now, I want to show you that that throne was right here on earth. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, or the angels of God. He was going to dominate over God. He was going to pull a coup. He was going to arm his angels, who now became demons, and they were going to invade heaven in a war. And they were going to knock God off the throne, and this Lucifer was going to take over the whole universe. He was jealous because he had been assigned a throne on this earth. And this earth is a tiny speck in the great universe that God has created. He was jealous and envious. I will exalt my throne. So he had a throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, and that is the location of God's throne in the far, far north. I will ascend above the heaven, above the heights of the clouds. So he was under the clouds, he was on the earth. I will be, it says here, like the Most High, and I think a better translation might have been, I'll become the Most High. He was going to take over everything that God had. Now, I think we should go a little further right here. Why was he put on a throne? And was there any government there? What is government? Well, government is the administration of law. Now we need to know what is law. Government is the administration of law. And law is the very foundation of government. Now, law is merely a way of life. It is a way of conduct, the way you conduct yourself and guide your own actions and your living. Now, how did he become Satan? What was the origin of Satan? And what is the origin of this thing we call sin? Well, we see it here in the 28th chapter of Ezekiel. Now, let me see. Ezekiel 28. Something got this mixed up a little bit here. I don't know how that happened. For God said of this same Lucifer who became Satan, "Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth." Now back and see, it's in the 24th chapter, I believe, of Exodus. You read of how on the very throne of God in heaven there are two cherubs whose wings spread out over the throne of God. He had been one of those cherubs on the very throne of God with his wings covering over the throne of God. It is just like our students that are educated here in Ambassador College, and then some of them become ministers, and we send them out into the field to take care of a church. Well, Lucifer had been educated at God's heaven and God's college in heaven. And he was sent out into the field, which is this earth, to govern and rule the earth with God's government. And our ministers are sent out to administer God's government in the church and to preach Christ's gospel and to teach the people Christ's way of life in the same way. Then again, "Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day thou wast created." He was not born as humans. He was a created being. And he was perfect as God created him till iniquity was found in thee. And iniquity is lawlessness, against law. Whereas government is the administration of law. Thine heart was lifted up. Now why then did he turn the wrong way? Why did he turn from God's way? Verse 17 says, "Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness." His beauty was brilliant, and it was so bright that probably it would put human eyes out if you looked at it. And vanity seized him. It's the same vanity that seizes humans. Men want to be thought of as big and important. Women want to be beautiful. So they sit in front of a mirror and they paint up their faces to make them more beautiful than God did. They think God did a poor job. They're better than God. And so they want to, through vanity, they look in that and see how beautiful I am. You know, Mother Eve would have painted her face, but there were no mirrors there. And I think if she'd had a mirror, she would have done it. And if there were no mirrors today, none of you women would ever have painted your faces. It is sheer vanity. And it is done because the world does it, and because you want to be like the world, and because you don't want the world to think you're not one of them. You want the world to think you're one of them. That's the only reason that women do it. And it is one of the sins that violates the Spirit and the obvious intent of the law of God. And the law of God is love, and love is outflowing toward God and toward neighbor. It's just like I had to consider, why did I smoke 57 years ago when I was first converted? I said, do I do it to please God? No, I didn't think